Hello students, good morning to all of you. Welcome back to the consumer behavior subject. Today we start a very important chapter unit, that is fifth unit, last unit, models of consumer behavior. As you all know very well that the consumer behavior is going to show huge impact on the business units, because finally after paying so much effort, after consuming so much time, so many resources, finally product will be produced. That product is going to be purchased by the consumer. So whatever product or services being produced, if those are not produced by the consumer, it's going to be a big jolt on the future of the companies. Understand? Hence, understanding the consumer behavior is very important. How a consumer thinks, how a consumer reacts, how a consumer makes a decision, what kind of features likes by the consumers to purchase the product. All these things knowing beforehand. According to that, manufacturing the physical goods and showcasing the services going to be a very important aspect. Today we are going to discuss about models of consumer behavior. What is a model? A model is nothing but actually which is the what you call miniature effect of what you call the reality. Through the model one can guess how the future is going to be and what kind of problems and what kind of solutions can be pre-planned before itself. So as far as the models are concerned, there are so many variety types are there, like physical models are there, theoretical models are there, mathematical models are there. The most powerful models are mathematical models. The physical models are nothing but if you want to purchase an elephant to your sister, brother, you need not to purchase a life-size elephant, a real elephant. What we can do, you can purchase a small elephant doll. You can present that one to your brother, sister. That elephant doll is nothing but the model about that real elephant. Same you might be observed, isn't it? And so many exhibitions will be taking place. In reality, the big building, what is going to be constructed, will be showcased in a minimized size by using what you call plastic, fiber, those kinds of items, which can be displayed on the table itself. What you call a model, strictly speaking, physical models. So by looking at building model, one can easily understand, so in reality, how the building is going to be. If at all any changes are required, now itself we can do that. Same way, the consumer behavior model explains different kinds of consumers or the customers, how they are going to pursue about the product and what kind of reaction would be there when they are going to purchase the product. Will they going to be loyal customers to the purchased brand? Understand? So beforehand, every company should know this information, so that the information is going to be value added in future. All decision making is going to be very easy to all of them. Hence, understanding models of consumer behavior is very important. So as far as the models of consumer behavior is concerned, broadly categorized into two types. One is called traditional models, and one more type models are called as contemporary models. So today we discuss about the traditional models. So let us enter into the slides. So models of consumer behavior. What do you mean a model? A simplified representation of reality. All elephant dolls explain the what you call really how an elephant looks alike. Models are described verbally, diagrammatically, mathematically, various techniques to represent what you call the models. So on the paper you can draw the building chart. One more way of what you call representing the model. So models can be specific or comprehensive. Exclusive models will be there which explains about that situation only. Same way, few models which can be called as comprehensive. So these comprehensive models can be applied in variety kinds of situations if little bit similarities are going to be matched. Consumer behavior models explains decision making process by consumers according to the situation. So exclusively if you think about the consumer behavior models, they are going to explain how a consumer is going to react, how the consumer thinking process would be, what kind of features generally likes by the consumers, what kind of the improvement actually the consumer wanted to be there in the product or services what they are going to purchase. So all this information can be what you call beforehand understood by carefully applying these models. Hence you call them as a consumer behavior models. So what are the categories? Into two ways. One is called traditional models and one more category is the contemporary model. So under traditional models, what are all there? The economic model, learning model, psychological model, the sociological model. So under contemporary models, what are all there? The Howard Scheth model of buying behavior, the Nicosia model, the Engel Collard Blackwell model, Engel Blackwell and Mignard model, EBM model. Now we will discuss about the traditional models. So under traditional models, what are there? Economic model, learning model, psychological model and as well as the sociological model. So under traditional models, so what are all there? The earlier traditional models were developed by economists with a view to understand economic system. What is economics? With the least available resources to satisfy huge number of needs. Understand? What do you call that? Economics. So these traditional models are also old models developed by economists. Economics helps to understand how scarce resources are allocated among unlimited wants and needs. The very basic thing required is called as a need. Above the need, a little bit what you called asset added, that becomes a wants. Eating food is a need. So in the food, if you add special items, that becomes what you call the wants. So being human beings, first our stage would be satisfying the needs. Next, we look up to the satisfying the wants. So what is this economics says you to satisfy the wants and needs? So what are the important models? One is economic model, learning model, psychoanalytic model and sociological model. Economic model. Under economics, it is assumed that man is a rational human being who will evaluate all the alternatives in terms of cost and value received and select that product service which gives him her maximum satisfaction. So according to this theory, human being generally assumed as takes the decision by rationally thinking. By taking the step, those are going to benefit a lot. Understand? which gives him a what you call bigger benefit. So that's why specifically mention here what do you mean by a rational human being. Consumers are assumed to follow the principle of maximum utility based on the law of diminishing marginal utility. This is the basic principle actually applied to develop the economic model. As you all know that whenever we are feeling hungry, let us suppose that we purchased a pizza. So pizza, parted into 4 parts. So when you are eating the first part, you will have more satisfaction, because at that time, since that is the beginning of what you call satiating, you are hungry. By that time you go for eating the second slice of the pizza, that interest will go on decreasing, and for final slice almost becomes what you call the zero. Interest will be zero. What you call it? Diminishing marginal utility. Same way, whenever the customers go on purchasing the items repeated way, slowly their what you call importance over that product or services is going to be diminished. Economic model of consumer behavior is unidimensional. So this model actually explains you only one aspect of the human behavior. Hence, this is assumed as a unidimensional. And also many more aspects what you call left untouched in the economic model. Hence, strictly speaking, this is incomplete model. So which is the first model under what you called traditional models, economic model. So these are the effects under economic model. What is that? Price effect. Lower the price of the product, more will be the quantity purchased. As you all know, consumer generally purchase those products which are going to have for cheaper price. Substitution effect. Lower the price of the substitute product, lower will be the utility of the original product purchase. So whenever for any wanted product, substitute products are there. Like you take fans only. There are so many substitute products are there. If those products are going to come for cheaper price and gives you equal satisfaction or more than equal satisfaction of what you call the original product, generally the customers will tend to purchase that substitute product. Income effect. When more income is earned, more money is available, quantity purchase will be more. So this is also a very, very important effect based on which the economic model has been developed. So more income leads to more consumption power. More consumption power means more purchase, what you call activities will be resorted. The next one is the learning model. So based on the Pavlov's stimulus response. As you all know that he conducted a very, very famous experiment regarding what you call dog. Before feeding the dog, giving the bell. Understand? He proved that though the food will not be served, when a bell will be ringed, the dog is going to be what you call salivate. What you call it, the Pavlov's stimulus response. Because that impact will be there in the mind. Pavlov's stimulus response states that in order to bring changes in buyer behavior, one must change the drives, stimuli, responses as per buyer's attitude or perceptions. Learning model will help marketers to promote associations of product with strong drives, cues, and positive reinforcements from the consumers. What are these drives, cues, and positive responses? Let us see. A drive means a strong internal stimulus which compels action. So internally forces the customer a desire, strong desire to take action. What do you call a drive? Stimuli. These are the inputs which are capable of arousing drives or motivates. So before the drives develops, what is required? Stimuli generation is required in the minds of the customers. Cues. Cues means signs. It is a sign or signal which acts as a stimulus to a particular drive, generally advertisements. Response. The way or mode in which an advertised individual reacts to the stimuli. So all are linked things these are. Okay. So these are the things in terms of tree structure represented. Drive leads to cues, cues leads to response, and finally the reinforcement. What is the drive? Internal stimulus that impels an action. So cues means stimuli coming from marketing or social environment, mean to say advertisements. Response, what the buyer does, whatever buys or not. And finally, the lasting impact will be there. Positive impression or negative impression. What do you call that? The reinforcement. So what do you call this? Learning model. The next one is the psychoanalytic model, developed by Sigmund Freud, very famous psychologist. Deals with the analysis of the psychology of the consumers. The way the consumer thinks, mental aspects, all these things will be considered while psychoanalytic model being implemented. According to this model, buyers' needs and wants operate at several levels of consciousness. For every purchasing decision, the purchaser will have some complex motives which can be influenced by his sense of desires. So for any action of the consumer, beforehand what is required? A strong desire generation is important. Unless desire coupled with the action, the purchasing activity or purchasing decision will not be made. So according to it, human behavior is the outcome of id, superego, ego. So these are the three elements according to the psychoanalytic model, which leads to the purchasing decision of the consumer. What is it? Id, superego, ego. Buyers influenced by symbolic factors in a product. The next one is the sociological model. As you all know that human being is a societal animal. We live in a group, we live in a community, we lead our life in organizations. That means whatever the other people, other persons are going to use, their thought process, their influence will work on us also while doing any kind of purchase decisions. So what do you call this model as the sociological model? So as per this model, an individual buyer is a part of the institution called society. Gets influenced by it and in turn also influences it in its path of development. The interactions with all the set of society leave some impressions on him and may play a role influencing his buying behavior. So parents influences us in taking decisions. Friends influences us in taking decisions. What do you call it? Sociological model. The marketers, through a process of market segmentation, can work out on the common behavior patterns of a specific class and group of buyers and try to influence their buying pattern. So these behaviors are going to be understood by marketers through the process of market segmentation. And finally, they are going to identify the consumer's behavior. See the influencing factors at large. What is there? Social policies, national legislation. So little bit reduced impact, regional, municipal strategies, community, culture, school, peers, classmates, friends, family members, mother, father, brothers, sisters, relatives, children, understand? So these are the things which are going to influence us, what you call, while making any kind of decision. So these are all falls under traditional models. So till now, what we had discussed, so started fifth unit, models of consumer behavior. What do you mean by model and what do you mean by consumer behavior model? We had discussed next variety kinds of consumer behavior models, traditional models and contemporary models. So under traditional models, what are all there? Economic model, learning model, psychological model, sociological model. Under contemporary models, what are all there? The Howard Scheth model of buying behavior, the Nicosia model, the Engel, Collat, Blackwell model, Engel, Blackwell and Maynard model, or else EBM model. So under traditional model, what we came to know, these are all classical models, early models. Most of them are developed by economists. Exclusively under economic model, what that model says, say consumer is a rational human being. You know very well what is required to satisfy his needs, wants. He wants to spend those particular services by which he is going to have more satisfaction. So what is the principle followed? Principle of maximum utility based on the law of diminishing marginal utility. So this is a unidimensional model. That means only one aspect of what we call the consumer behavior has been discussed, and also many of the dimensions of the consumer behavior left untouched. Hence this model is assumed as incomplete model. Economic model. So these are the effects will shows: price effect, substitution effect, income effect. Learning model, Pavlov's stimulus response. So what are the things need to be changed? The drives, stimuli, responses as per buyer's attitude, perceptions. So drive means a strong internal stimulus which compels action. So drive might be feeling hungry. According to that, stimuli will be generated. Cues, advertisements, response to purchase or not to purchase, food items. Next one is psychoanalytical model. Sigmund Freud, based upon the psychology. So three aspects are very important. Id, superego and ego. Id, superego and ego. Sociological model. Because we are all societal animals, while purchasing a service or a product, other people influence will be more. We want to have their opinions. We want to listen to them. We understand their experiences. So what do you call it? Sociological model. I stop here. In the next class we discuss contemporary models. Thank you so much.